Hi, everybody. You are watching the Small Biz Chat podcast. I'm Melinda Emerson, Small Biz Lady, your host. And now we're talking with my guest, Dr. Robert Needham. He is a seasoned executive with more than 35 years as a business and franchising executive. He's president of the Collaborative Franchise System, LLC. He's often called on as an expert in business, franchising, forensic analysis, and technology. He's been a franchisor in franchise consulting in nutrition and fitness, mobile food truck, and gourmet dog food. He's also advised more than 90 different franchises and hundreds of brands within the industry. He currently focuses on service based franchises with a high return investment potential. Dr. Needham, welcome to the Small Biz Chat podcast.
Hey, Melinda, glad to be with you.
I am so glad to talk to you because you've written this wonderful book on how to escape from economic slavery. And I want to talk to you about that because that's a very provocative title. But tell us a little bit how you came to even write a book like that. Like tell us a little bit about your business background.
Well, I started out in government service. I used to launch space shuttles for a living. And then I decided to leave NASA and I went into business for myself. And one of the things I realized early on, I started out in financial services that most people couldn't balance a checkbook. And the reason that they couldn't was because they were really never taught to do that. It's not that they didn't want to, they just didn't know how. And so I began to learn a lot about finance. And as I went through that process, I realized that owning my own business was pretty much a dream I'd had from about age 7. And nothing short of that would probably give me the freedom that I wanted.
So how would you define economic slavery, right? Because that's something you're really passionate about freeing people from. Can you define that for us?
Sure, we'll start off first. The primary definition of slavery is when you're held captive by a master, and that master feeds and clothes you and provides a house for you to live in, so you work for them for free. Economic slavery is slightly different from that. In this case, you have to pay for your own house and your own food, but you still work for someone else who has decided your value by what they're willing to pay you. So, in order to escape that mindset, you have to figure out how to move from a scarcity mindset where there isn't enough to an abundance mindset where there's more than enough.
Wow. So how do you do that? I mean, is that like how you talk about your concept of shared capitalism? Like how do you get to the point where you say, okay, I'm not going to go work for the man anymore. I'm going to create, my own business enterprise. How do you make that shift? How do people get past the fear of, oh no, I'm not going to have health insurance? Like how do people do that?
I know it is probably the singular most brought up item when they think about going into business for themselves is, oh my God, I could lose everything I've saved up to this point, and where am I going to get health insurance in case things go bad? The truth is, things normally don't go bad. And when they do, there are affordable ways to solve the health problem, but that's for a different time. Let's talk about let's talk about here specifically how do you overcome this fear or how do you make this decision, to get into business for yourself. The first thing is that you have to decide where you are and are you happy there? Meaning that the average person in America makes $75,000 a year in income. And so if you're looking at getting into a business that only will pay you $75,000, then all you're doing is trading a job for more work. Because all of us who've ever started a business knows that there's 3 phases of owning a business. There's where you work hard and make nothing. There's where you work hard and you might get paid what you thought you were worth. And finally, where you work very little and get paid more than you're worth, and people think you were born lucky. And and so as a result, we have to move through that mental transition. And so you have to figure out where you are and then where you want to go and what that next step looks like for you.
Now, I know that you're a big advocate of people looking at franchises as a potential business model because it doesn't have as much grunt work involved in sort of like building the idea, getting the brand out there and all that stuff, and then figuring out who the customer is and then finally figuring out the right pitch to sell to them. Um, why do you think that that's a good way to sort of parlay from being an employee to being an entrepreneur?
Well, if you think of a continuum, on one end is the employee, and on the other end is the entrepreneur. So this continuum. The franchisee sits pretty much right in the middle. They're a little bit of country and a little bit of rock and roll, which they don't want to make all the decisions for themselves, but they don't want someone to make all the decisions for them. So they're typically a mid manager, someone like that who's thinking, you know, I want to double my income. The only way I know to do that's to fire my boss, right? So they're saying, how do I get into business for myself? And so the first thing happens is they have three choices. They can either build, they can buy, or they can partner. So if I'm going to build, I'm a startup. That means I have to go learn all the mistakes. And the one thing I think about most successful people is true. If they really are honest with you, they've made more mistakes than anybody else. Okay. So you have to be willing to accept a lot of failure if you want to do a startup. Second, if you're buying, then you're buying a pre-existing business with a pre-existing customer base and all that, but you also may be buying pre-existing problems. So there, due diligence is really important. Do I really understand how this business works and all the insides and out? So that leaves us that middle person, the franchisee, the partner idea, or the collaborator who says, look, I'm going to come to you and I'm going to get three things when I buy a franchise from you. I'm going to get a brand that people trust already. I'm going to get a business system where you've made all the mistakes and I don't have to. And third, I'm getting a training program because I probably don't know how to do what you do, but you're going to teach me. And that's the real strength of franchising.
Well, talk to me about some of the downsides and limitations of franchising, though.
Well, first of all, if you don't know what type of franchise you're buying, you could either be buying a job or you could be buying a broken wing. And what I mean by that is if it doesn't give you enough net margin to get you where you want to go, you'll spend all your money and you'll get off where you got on and never go anywhere.
Right.
So not all franchises, even though I'm in the franchise industry, not all franchises are right for the average person. In fact, if we would talk about the most popular franchise most people think about, what would you guess that would be?
McDonald's.
Of course, everybody says McDonald's, the big golden arches, branding perfect, right? They've got a drive-through. You can get your chicken McNuggets every time. That's a great business system. And then third, those people really know how to greet you and give you those fancy statements. But when you look at them financially, forensically, like we talked about earlier, when you look at them that way, you realize that McDonald's is not designed for the franchisee to get rich.
What?
That's right.
Wait
It's
a minute. What? Like, hold on. Who's getting rich then?
the
Who?
franchisor, because McDonald's is all about real estate, and you don't get to own your real estate. They do.
Mm.
McDonald's is all about getting you to run 9 to 5 to stay alive. And by the way, you'll spend $1.5 million to get into McDonald's, and you'll make about 400,000 a year. You say, well, that's a lot of money. But what if I could tell you that you could spend the same 1.5 million and make $2.5 million a year? Would you want the
Sign me
full?
up.
Yeah.
Sign me. What do I got to do?
And
Robert.
it's the same money. It's the same money. It's a franchise, but it's knowing which ones make the most money. And
Mm.
so you learn quickly that where the money's at is in service, not in product.
Mm. Okay.
Because you
Wow.
want the highest possible gross margin so that you don't have to make so many sales in order to survive. Remember, we talked about continuums on the left side. Again, now that's wholesale. You got to sell a lot of stuff to make real money.
Mm-hmm.
Over here on the niche side is this super powerful brain surgeon, let's say, that can only do what they can do. they make a lot of money for doing what they do. They've exchanged their knowledge for that money. So products you don't want to be involved in. Of course, retail sits right in the middle, and it just depends on which side you fall on, whether you can make it or not.
Hmm.
The key to franchising is to find a business system that has got high gross margin. We call this, and we'll get into that today, but we call this net margin over investment. How we get to those numbers is a whole nother conversation. But the idea is if you can determine your net margin and divide it by your investment, if that ratio is less than 0.5 and McDonald's is 0.26, okay, then it's not worthy of you buying as an investment.
Wow. That I think that's the first time I have ever heard that explained like that. And I really thank you. But I can't let you go without you telling me, okay, now give me three that's got these numbers right. Like
Okay.
tell me the three I need to be looking at tonight, Robert. Come on.
Well, if you're the compassionate person, that really loves helping people, then let's talk about a concept of senior sitter. You think about that, and what you realize is, did you know today that there's 10,000 people turning age 75 every day in the United States?
Mm, okay.
That's 10,000 new customers being created every day. The person who has someone sit at home with them will spend an average of $6,000 a month to have them sit with them.
Wow.
If they go to a nursing home, it could be easily $10,000. But so if you get the non-medical senior sitting program and you run it well, then what you find out is with 10 customers, you can get all your money back and
Wow.
start making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Because the average bottom line for those companies is around 30% of your gross falls to the bottom line. So knowing that, that means you're making $1,800 net for every customer you put on. So if you want $18,000 a month in income, you just get yourself 10 customers.
Well, I like that kind of math, Robert. What else you got? Give me another one. Give me
Give
another
you okay? Today in America, one of the most phenomenal new sports is pickleball.
one. Okay.
Okay, it used to be tennis and basketball and all those kind of things. There's pickleball. It's growing like at 30 and 40% a year and has been doing so for quite some time. There's literally hundreds of thousands of people playing pickleball on any given day. But what you realize is these pickleball courts are small. And because people are shuffling their feet back and forth on these pickleball courts, they're wearing them out faster. So the real money is in resurfacing pickleball courts.
What? Really?
Yep, to show you how to get a little truck and know how to do the right techniques. And so for about $100,000, you can get a business that probably within your second year, you're making $1 million.
Oh Lord. Okay. You're gonna make me start thinking about manual labor. Okay, now, all right. Give me one more,
No, no,
Robert.
no. You hire people to do the work.
Oh, I hire. Okay, so I don't have to go do it. Okay,
You're
okay,
not
good,
sitting
good,
with the
good.
seniors either.
All
You
right.
hire somebody to do that.
Okay, okay, all right. Give me one more. I need one more.
One more. Let's see. One more that would be pretty exciting to you. Well, there there could be a coaching position. There's several coaching franchises out there, and you pick the area that you like because there you have no cost of goods, right? There's no product you're selling. You're just selling your time. And there are good coaching programs out there where they can show you how to make anywhere from $200 to $1,800 an hour. And in doing that, you just got to have against a few clients, and that's your business. There's
Wow.
probably 100 good ones we could help you with if we sit down and found out exactly what the person wanted. You know,
I think you're the best person I have ever heard talk about this.
thank you.
I have got to tell you. All right, but I got one more question for you.
Sure.
What is the best business advice you have ever gotten from someone?
Never mistake activity for accomplishment.
Never mistake activity for accomplishment.
Right.
Like that. I think that's tweetable, folks. I hope you give Dr. Needham some love for that. Listen, thank you so much. You have been such a joy and you have given so much really helpful information.